UFC 241 is going down this weekend, August 17th. And I know there's a very special rematch that everyone wants to take part in. Yep, you know what I'm talking about. Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor. I know what you're thinking. Wait, Steven, what? Conor McGregor isn't on this card, and Nate Diaz is fighting Anthony Pettis. Yeah, that's what I thought too, guys. Until I saw the countdown show, and I saw that Conor McGregor had more press, more screen time than Anthony Pettis on his own countdown show. The UFC is never afraid to hurt their fighters' feelings either. They kind of run this organization like a mob, which doesn't surprise me either because we all know that Dana White has had connections with the mob before. But I feel like they're kind of disrespecting Anthony Pettis here, unless they promised Anthony Pettis a shot at Conor McGregor after this, but I don't feel like there's no promises with Conor McGregor. So, yeah, I feel like they're banking on Nate Diaz to win this fight. They're banking on the trilogy fight because that's going to make the most money. I mean, I feel like both camps obviously want that fight, even though they say they don't. We've heard John Kavanaugh, Conor McGregor's coach, go on Ariel Helwani's podcast multiple times on different occasions saying that that's the fight he wants to make for Conor McGregor next. So I feel like it's going to happen. I feel like that trilogy fight's in the making. Who knows? Maybe even win or lose. Let's not forget Conor McGregor's also coming off a loss. And Nate Diaz's loss was kind of controversial. A lot of fighters kind of feel like he won that rematch versus Conor McGregor. But who knows? All I know is they should not be disrespecting Anthony Pettis because Anthony Pettis is an absolute beast. And over the last few years, I was a huge fan. Let's just go back a little bit. I was a huge fan of Anthony Pettis in the WEC. The WEC to me at that time was full of so much talent. Just look at how much talent came into the UFC and became champions and are still champions and are still pushing this sport to higher levels. It's crazy. But out of all of those guys, Anthony Pettis was one of the ones that the UFC wholeheartedly got behind and pushed and put him on Wheaties boxes and made him look good and promoted him right and talked about his story and his father being killed and all this stuff that builds up emotional attention to this guy, kind of showing what he's come from and where he is now. Anthony Pettis had this phoenix-like meteoric rise to stardom. He was like the guy at the time. But as we all may know in the UFC, stars fall hard. You fall from grace hard in the UFC. And once you fall, the UFC kind of just kicks you to the side. We've seen it multiple times. We've seen it with Ronda Rousey. We've seen it with Stipe. We've seen it with Cain Velasquez. We've seen it with DJ. We've seen it over and over and over again. It doesn't matter how great you are, how big of a star you are. It's all on the UFC, on if they want to continue promoting you or not. And I got to be honest with you guys, I've never seen a fall from stardom end up this well for someone. For Anthony Pettis, it was kind of like a weight off his shoulders. He wasn't pushing this organization anymore. He didn't have all these eyes on him to look good and make the right moves and do the right things and always be flashy because that's a part of his signature. He went back and he worked on a lot of skills, worked on a bunch of different things. He wanted to take the fights that he wanted to fight that made him excited to go train. He went down in weight, fought Max Holloway. He moved up in weight, fought Tony Ferguson, and just came off a knockout over Stephen Thompson. This guy is exciting right now. I'm a huge fan of Anthony Pettis more than ever. Just seeing him fight everyone and do what he wants. Sometimes it's not all about the ranking. Sometimes it's not about the belts. And I feel like both of these guys, Anthony Pettis and Nate Diaz, are a true testament to that. Both of these guys are so fun to watch. Tony Ferguson. These guys are just fun to watch no matter what. I can name a bunch of guys. They just keep popping into my head. Cowboy. Anyways, these type of guys, let me try to get this sentence out, are fun to watch no matter what. The belt don't need to be on the line. Anytime these guys fight, you're excited to see those fights because you know they're going to bring it and they're going to be fun to watch. And they promote themselves in the octagon. They don't need the UFC behind them because we all know Nate Diaz is a product of being very, very, probably the worst case scenario of being under promoted. I mean, he was making 20,000 to show, 20,000 to win in the Michael Johnson fight. Can you believe that? This guy's a huge star, a huge stud. The whole community loves the Diaz brothers. The pay-per-view sales and the numbers all back that they're a draw, and the UFC blatantly lies to everyone's faces and says they're not a draw, and they keep denying fights when really they're trying to pay them under what they deserve. So obviously they're going to deny these fights. But as Max Holloway would say, it is what it is. Now this fight between Anthony Pettis and Nate Diaz has a lot of backstory. These guys really do not like each other, and they've had a lot of run-ins in the past and talked a lot of smack. So this has been in the making for like 10 years now, and I'm surprised that the UFC's Countdown story barely brushed over it. They were too busy hanging from Conor McGregor's McNuggets that they just completely skipped the story that would have been great for promotion. They briefed over it, but you know what? I'm going to give you guys a little more in-depth peek into these two's history and backstory.
Tell me, hey, we got Nate ready to go, co-main event in California. You down? And I'm set to send a contract.
What was your what did you think when this was brought to your attention?
Oh man, a perfect fight for me. You know me and Nate, we've had beef and drama for a long time. So just something that was supposed to happen a long time ago, and it's finally happening, and at a comfortable weight class for both of us. So it's gonna be a scrap.
I don't know if you remember this, but I remember, I think it was UFC 188 in Mexico. I was backstage, and you guys were like exchanging words or something like this, and kind of had to be a little bit separated. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I feel like Nate always did that. You know, he waited for the kids to show up, and then he'd yap at the mouth.
Did Pettis just say something to you?
He didn't say shit. Put his head down and look down, but he's walking by like he's tight. And you know what? Call him a bitch right here because he thinks he's tight. He's been talking that shit in the internet and like want to act like you don't see me when he's here, but don't act like you want to fight or act tight if you're not going to do shit.
Nate Diaz has an army behind him.
Yeah.
They put money
he's
down.
He's a huge star. He's one of the least – he's like the worst promoted superstar.
Him and his brother. They could have made
giant stars.
My favorite.
Minus 125? Minus 125.
Pettis?
Nate's even money and Pettis is minus 130.
Okay.
Yeah.
As of today.
Has he told you why this is so personal, why he feels this way about Nate?
For years, Nate's just attacked him, not only verbally, but even in a nightclub. They tried to jump him and Nick. It's just it gets to a point where stuff just boils over. I mean, I get the perspective where Anthony's coming from.
Yeah, there you guys have it. So obviously, I'm going with Nate Diaz in this fight because I'm a Stockton boy, but both of these guys have more than enough tools to win this fight. This is going to be a fun fight, and I'm just going to chill out, relax, and watch it. But I'm definitely leaning towards Nate Diaz because I do personally want to see that trilogy fight between him and Conor McGregor. If Conor McGregor is even eligible to fight after punching that old man. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. Who you guys have winning this weekend? And yeah, tell me about the main event too. Who do you have winning that rematch between Stipe and DC? I'm kind of leaning towards Stipe this time myself, but we will see. Anyways, guys, see you guys next time. Peace.